my favorite part about his performance.
That's
You like
so
that?
funny when he, not just that, but it is that.
What is up, Flick fans, and welcome back to my channel. But once
Yes.
again, today I'm joined by Cris from 3C Films. Man, I'm sorry, I'm just pulling you into
You're fine,
every
man.
video.
I'll be in every video. I'll be the Stanley of your videos.
You're the Stanley, you're gonna make a cameo?
There you go.
Listen, I am so excited for today's video because we've already done the non-spoiler. That's on my channel. Already ranked the Jokers.
Tiered.
Tiered the Jokers.
Come on, Austin.
That's on my channel. And now Cris and I are going to talk about this movie in depth. And let me tell you, there are a lot more things to talk
Yeah,
about
there really are.
than I even imagined. So we're going to get into it. We're going to dive deep. And just so you know, spoiler warning.
Spoilers.
Going to be a lot of stuff being
Don't
talked
you
about.
dare comment. You ruined the movie for me.
Yeah, please, don't comment that. But do comment your thoughts on
Yeah.
favorite moments, best part of this movie. Did
Worst part.
Joaquin's performance deliver? And absolutely worst part. Which parts did not live up to expectation for sure? And if you enjoy this video, be sure to leave it a thumbs up. And we'll definitely do more of these spoiler videos
Yes, we
in
will.
the future. Cris, let's talk a bit about Joker just
Okay.
before we get started. Kind of recap your thoughts for us.
Okay, so I want to say I really did like this movie.
Awesome.
I liked it a whole bunch, and as a person who I've said this before, I guess it gets me in trouble. I'm not a big fan of the solo villain films. You
Okay.
know, if sometimes the reason a villain is very appealing, it's because of who you put them up against and the way they're able to fight them.
Yes.
And so with that said, like with the Venom, I can watch the movie. It's
Okay.
fun. But I would rather see that Venom, that exact way he was, with a Spider-Man fighting hand by hand. That's what I want to see.
Can't disagree.
And along with that, I was also afraid of them ruining the mystery of the Joker. Them
Yes.
telling us his exact origin and ruining all that and just going, this is why he does what he does. Take it.
Yeah.
And all my hesitations, this movie has turned me around on this whole villains thing where
Whoa.
I'm like, they can do it. And I will enjoy it. So I really came out liking it. I have a few gripes with it, but in the end, really solid win for DC.
It's one that is proving to stick with me even more than I imagined because I went really high with my score, higher than I ever thought I would, and the entire night last night. And I told you this morning, man, I was just thinking about it. The haunting performance from Joaquin, the way that he goes out at the end of this movie with the swelling of the music and the score. I listened to the score last night, man. Just 3 or 4 different tracks. I'm just like, this is great. I'm loving this, man. So many good things to talk about. But let's kind of start at the beginning.
Okay.
Our introduction to Arthur Fleck, maybe his relationship with his mother, and how that storyline begins to progress. You know, you have him as the street clown, the street performer, and he's getting bullied. He's getting beat up a little bit, and he can't really fend for himself, both physically and mentally. So how did this, the intro to this film, and let's talk about the stylistic nature of the title and the atmosphere,
beautiful.
man.
That
Talk
is-
a little bit about
hats
that.
off to Todd Phillips here, the director of it, because I love... Because what is this time period? Is it 70s? Is it 80s?
Yes, I think it's like late 70s, early 80s.
But even though it's set in that time period, it's almost treating it like a 50s picture.
Yes.
With that intro and some of the music.
The
it
text.
feels like some greasers at a club. Just, it is, and it's like that, and I loved it that it's 80s movie, and it's the 50s music. And
Yeah.
so it was really nice, and pair that up with the beautiful palette of this movie, the
Oh my gosh.
cinematography, loved it. When getting down to, immediately starts off with what my gripe would have been about this is, oh, I'm supposed to feel bad for this guy. He
Yes.
got bullied, he
Yes.
got beat up, and I'm supposed to want to give him a hug and tell him everything's going to be okay. To me, that's not who I see the Joker in my mind. This is not a man I'm supposed to be feeling bad for. This is not a person that was pushed to the edge in that manner. You know, I'm more classical when it comes with it, and I like the drop the bad toxic chemicals. Maybe now in our times where we like our movies to be more realistic, make more sense, and that feels very cartoony and sort of a cop-out.
Especially after Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
you know?
And
So-
not even that. Jared Leto's did that.
True.
And once something is done on the screen, the next movie doesn't want to replicate that, which is the same way like with Zendaya in Spider-Man.
For sure.
They don't call her Mary Jane. It's MJ. They don't give her the red hair. They don't do any of that because it's been done and you want to do something different.
Something more.
But with that said, I also liked how at the beginning of the movie, it was kind of a surprise, even though we should have saw it coming because Joaquin was talking about this. He does have a mental health issue.
Yes.
And it's that whole, he does this uncontrollable laughter. It's kind of like Tourette's with laughing. that was a beautiful, that maybe not beautiful, but that was a really interesting dynamic that they added to him that I was like, that is creepy.
Yeah.
But if anyone were to have that disease, it should have been the Joker. So yeah, you?
And I wasn't expecting them to go that route with the laughter, because we've never seen anything like that before. We've never seen the Joker, he's laughing because of an issue that maybe later on we find out maybe it's just him, right? Maybe it's just the Joker. But bursting out in the middle of conversations, sentences, when he goes to watch the comedian perform, just ha 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 ha. But my favorite part about his performance, you like
so
that?
Funny when he, not just that, but it is that. That's so
But
funny
then he'll wrap it up and he'll go, ah, and he'll just go back to straight.
That's dark.
Sitting back going, I don't like this guy,
good, yeah.
but in the best way possible, right? So he's at this comedic performance, and it's just, and I love how he can switch it, turn it. Now, I wanted more of a switch for his character in general in the movie, but his performance, how he can go from happy to sad to emotional to maybe falling in love with someone who we'll find out later, but maybe isn't really there, right? There are so many wacky things, but what I said about this in the non-spoiler review, to elaborate on it a bit, is I found all of these elements at the beginning, and not to get ahead of myself, but I found them to be beautiful and brilliant building blocks for what the Joker could be in 5 to 10 years. Because going into this film, I did not think they were going to set up Bruce Wayne, and they do that. And it is very clear that they do that. They do not just kind of tiptoe around it. No, it's like, there's Bruce Wayne, there's his parents laying down in the alley, and as Joaquin's going on a monologue, it flashes, it cuts back to Bruce standing there, and it's oh my, dude, I'm getting like, it's like, oh my God, dude, that is the Joker and the Batman just head-to-head, mano-a-mano, and they do meet up in this movie, by the way.
Yes, they do.
Which was awesome, and we'll get into that as well, but I could not get over how he would just turn on and off that performance. So we progress. He gets beat up on the side of the street. He meets up with these other clowns, and you can just see how miserable he is. But at the same time, you can see how he is trying to put a smile on other people's face. You see it with the kid on the train. He's also trying to put a smile on his face at the beginning of the film. There's an interesting scene that happens. So one of his fellow clowns walks over, hands him a gun, because he just needs to defend himself, Chris.
Yeah.
And let's go ahead and get into what happens the first time that he kills someone, when those 3 people die on that train. This entire scene, I hope I didn't skip too far ahead.
Oh, you're good.
But this entire scene just kind of encapsulates what I have always pictured to be the beginning of what a character like this should be. It's that first time you kill. And they tell Batman all the time in his movies. It's that first time you kill. He inadvertently kills a lot of people. But the first time you kill somebody straight up, you can't turn back. And we see this with the Joker in this scene. How did you feel about this entire sequence?
So when that went down, to me, because up until that point, I was telling myself, I was reminding myself, this movie's supposed to be rated R. And I haven't seen anything to warrant this R rating.
Yeah.
There's not really violent language.
Barely cussing. Yeah.
Barely cussing. There's no, like, sexual graphic, anything like that. But when the gunshots happen and these people get hopeless, who, you know, I was like, these guys are assholes. Why are they mistreating the Joker?
Yes.
Like, just leave the guy alone.
Feeling sorry for the Joker.
Exactly. And it's like, this is what sucks, because the movie does its job. I do feel sorry for the Joker, and I want to be his friend, and I want to explain to people, this guy has a condition. Leave him alone. He's just trying to make people smile.
But he's the Joker.
But he's the Joker.
You know?
And I'm not supposed to feel that way, but the movie does a good job of making me feel that way. And anyways, with that said, though, once the bullets start flying and these people are that, and you have the last man that the Joker is going after, and he's climbing and crawling, going up those stairs, and you just see Joaquin's face determined, not even hesitating, like, oh, what did I just do? No, he's like, that was the
way he's pacing towards him, man.
Yes, that was Joker-esque.
Oh my God.
Like, I love that. That was great, and that was like, even if I sympathize with him, I can tell what he's doing is wrong right now.
Yes.
And I switched so quickly from like these Wall Street a-holes to these poor Wall Street guys.
Yeah. Well, that's it, man.
And that was the key that made this the difference. Because there are other movies where they do the villain story, like a Maleficent, where they went too far in letting you sympathize with Angelina Jolie's character. Agree. So when she goes slightly evil, you're just like, okay.
I don't believe that.
I don't believe it. But when he goes evil, you're like, well, I don't care if I agree with you. That's pretty messed up stuff.
And that's what I think is so brilliant about this movie, is you all of a sudden go from sympathizing with the Joker to sympathizing with his victims.
Yes.
Who were the bad people at the start of the scene, but by the end of the scene, you're like, okay, get out of there, crawl, man, crawl.
Yeah.
And that's what this movie did so brilliantly, as well as the cinematography in that scene in particular, when it's following him just kind of doing that sideways run. I'm like, whoa.
Those little details he adds to the character is brilliant.
Brilliant, man.
Brilliant.
It's such a gorgeous moment, and that scene really was the start of this character and really the descent into madness that we progressively see throughout this entire picture. I want to take a side road really quick.
Okay.
I want to talk about something that I pointed out to you after this movie, and we talked about it for a bit. Did you notice the giant rats in the movie? Here's what happens. There's a joke at the beginning of this movie that Robert De Niro, hey, he's in this movie, by the way, that his wonderful character, by the way, his talk show host says...
Frank Murphy.
Frank Murphy, something like that.
Yeah.
But he establishes that there are large rats around the city.
Yes.
Didn't think anything of it. A couple of scenes later, you're looking in the background, and there are large rats running behind our characters.
Now, Austin says this, but I never saw the rats. We got into the car after the screening, and he's like, I gotta look up about these rats. And I'm like, oh, the joke at the beginning of the movie, the super rats?
no idea.
And he was like, yeah, maybe it's like an Easter egg for a villain or something. And I'm like, what were you talking about? And you were saying, no, there were literally giant rats in the movie. And I'm like, we just saw this in IMAX.
Yeah.
We were 50 feet away from the screen. I think if a giant rat showed up on screen, I would have seen it, Austin. But I trust you that they were there. And then I think it's, I don't know if you know this, it's called selective attention in psychology. To where it's an experiment. You'll be in an audience. I'll describe it really quick. Sorry, but
okay.
You're in an audience, and someone comes out and brings out like 5 basketball players, and they tell you, "I want you to count how many times the players pass the ball to each other." So as that is happening, someone in a gorilla suit walks in and then walks out. The person comes back and then comes. You think she's gonna say how many times did the basketball players, but instead she asks, "Raise your hand if you saw the gorilla guy," and no one raises their hands because they were too focused on the ball being thrown around. So with that, this has got to be some sort of metaphorical thing that Todd Phillips did to the film.
Yes.
Of selective attention. You're focused on the Joker. And I'm telling you, it's like some sort of Rorschach test. If you notice the rats, you're an evil person. You're a Joker. Because I'm focused on the Joker and everything bad happening to him. And I feel sorry for him. But you were like, whatever, beat him up. Is that a giant rat?
Is that a giant rat running? And it happened multiple times. So, it was 2 or 3 scenes.
That's what my guess is, what he was trying to get through. But it could just be, I don't know, random. It could, I don't know. To me, it also could be a message. This movie's kind of political, which I'm sure we're going to talk about.
Of course,
which wasn't my favorite thing about this movie. But it could be that there's big political problems, but the public is focused, that when they should be focusing on super rats, which is a real current problem, instead of making up whatever these other problems is.
Wow, I like that.
That's just my guess. But
no, you're right on the metaphorical side. That has to be what it is, and I like that a lot, man. But it was, and I want to go back and I want to see which scenes it happened in because I can't remember which scenes.
That'll be the key to figure out why they were there.
Exactly.
I can't imagine they were just there for the hell of it.
You know they were doing it on purpose. There had to be a motive behind this, but I just found it really interesting. So comment your thoughts on the rats.
And if you didn't see them, when you see it again, look for the rats. Because I'm going to have to go back. Because I didn't see them, so I have to take Austin's word for it. But he showed me tweets of other people who also saw them, so...
Maybe we're just seeing things. Exactly. The Joker's making us crazy. It is a Rorschach test, though. I agree with you.
That's what I'm thinking.
Listen, there are so many things to talk about in this movie, but I want to go ahead and get into what you just hit on. Let's get into the political nature of this movie. The aspect that they kind of hit on at the end where they're kind of throwing in timely moments. And, you know, I'm okay when movies do this, but I'm okay when they balance. I don't like one thing being thrown in your face. Whether I agree or disagree, regardless, what are your thoughts on just a few moments that happen towards the end, whether it's, you know, this comedy isn't appropriate, but it's kind of hearkening to what's going on in 2019.
So the Joker in the movie he made a joke where it's like, why did the mom get sad when her son died? And it was like, because he got hit with a drunk driver, and then... and then the woman goes, you can't joke about stuff like that.
Yes.
That's definitely what is going on right now. I mean, the Dave Chappelle special, comedians right now so afraid. Even in comedy clubs right now, they tell them phones away because they don't want to risk them getting one bad YouTube video online and their career's gone.
Heavy-handed, And
I understand that, but I feel like, one, that's going to date the movie so quick. Who knows if maybe that's always going to be subject of our time, but there was a political motive to that, and there is a line in the movie where Robert De Niro says about the Joker's character, he's like, this isn't a political statement, and he says, like, I don't believe in that nonsense, but he still leads those political people.
He does.
Still leads the movement, and that's why he likes to do what he does. In the end, the motive of this Joker was fame. He just wanted famous. He wanted either to be stand-up comedian. That wasn't working out.
Yep.
But people were paying attention when he was killing people on the subway, so he led through that way. The political message, it's whatever. It's something I'll probably not cringe, but I'll probably at whenever I rewatch this movie.
Me too. Yeah.
But I wish they would have strayed away from that.
I'm with you. It's my biggest negative of the movie, and it's not something that overshadows the rest of the film, because obviously I love this movie. I think it's wonderful. But it is something that I look at and I'm just like, I don't know why that was necessarily necessary. You know, I don't know why it's something that you have to throw into even a comic booky movie. And I know it's more than that. I know it's kind of and I say this in the best way possible, an Oscar baity film, which it is, but that's because I love it so much, right? I don't think it was necessary. I don't think it's something that you need to put into a movie like this. So because of that, that is probably my biggest issue. But let's just get back into the story. I want to kind of hit on, Zazie Beetz' character, maybe a little Brian Tyree. Oh, Zazie Beetz?
I don't know. That's how I say it.
I was like, really? Brian Tyree Henry and all these kind of these...
There was a lot of great supporting characters that weren't properly utilized. I mean, Mark Maron's character, 3 minutes of screen time.
If that.
And it was, like, I think a big deal when he was cast.
It was a huge deal.
Especially since he doesn't like comic book movies. And he said that before, not as blatantly as, what was that guy who spit on Stanley's grave? I don't know who that guy is. Yeah. But, I mean, understandable, not for everybody, but he's going to be in a movie. Mark Maron, you had some other comedians. There was one comedian, I forget his name. I know he has a podcast, but he was one of the clowns when the Joker was being fired out, and he was joking around with him.
Yes.
I don't know his name, but
I know who you're talking about.
He's a famous comedian as well. You had Brian Tyree Henry, Zazie Beetz, and I don't know, they just didn't shine. I mean, they tried doing something with Zazie Beetz, which I still ask you, like, what was the point of him making these illusions? Was it you said it was just another thing to tip him off the edge?
Yes,
and they also left it open to we don't know if he killed her or not.
Yes,
he didn't walk out bloody. He didn't walk out with some stains. He could have just left because it seemed like. If you don't want to be killed by the Joker, all you have to do is be nice to him.
Yeah.
And again, that goes to why I don't completely love. I like, but I don't love this because all you have to do is just be nice to this Joker, and he'll leave you alone.
And you mentioned when we were talking about the film that the Joker is a character that is not built upon displaying love and affection towards characters, because even with Harley Quinn, she's kind of the character that he throws in front of him himself.
I like to think the Joker's absent of a sexual urge.
I agree with you.
And that's why it makes the dynamic between him and Harley so interesting, because as audacious as Harley Quinn is, he doesn't care about that booty. He just uses her as a shield.
Yes.
He uses her for his own advantage. When he needs something, he just tosses her in the fire.
Yes.
And that's so interesting of that. And so to have the Joker actually have that urge...
Yeah.
It just, I don't know, be an imaginary thing for him. It's weird.
I think that was I like it, though, because I think it was a building block.
Okay.
I think this was the reason why he doesn't want a relationship anymore. I think this was his experience realizing that, and by the way, she wasn't there the whole time. He imagines her there, and it turns out that, hey, she wasn't actually there. I think that's the reason why he treats Harley Quinn the way he does in 10 plus years, however many years.
Yeah, that could be a stepping stone of why he doesn't have trust issues. One thing I want to say, though, that was an amazing line let's see if you know this.
Okay.
What does the Joker always say is the difference between him and Batman? You know?
I can't think.
He always says the difference between you and me, we're one bad day away from each other.
Oh, yeah.
That's what he always says, right?
Okay. Yep. That's what he says in The Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, he says, you're one bad day away from me. And what does he say in the apartment when he's with Zazie Beetz right before she walks in and sees him? He sits on the couch, he's all bloody, and then he goes, I had a bad day.
Ooh.
As in, what? It was that one bad day
away from...
where he went to the other side of the spectrum of, like, I'm a murderous clown now.
I think he killed her. That sold me on it, man. I think, and I love how they left it ambiguous because, he, at the main end of the movie, when he kills the person talking to him, he has bloody shoes.
Oh, yeah.
No blood, nothing here.
I think, you're right. Maybe that's where I was getting all, like, sensitive about, like, well, he's just, if you be nice to him, I think that guy now at the end, if you put him up against his little friend from the clown school, nice or not, I think he would have no problem killing him now.
Because, and the more I think about it, the more I'm like, now that, because I think the Joker is now the Joker at the end of this film. I think he has, he's nice to the characters. He was even because he looked up to Robert De Niro's character so much throughout the movie. It's like, I'm just going to take myself out. That's going to be the joke. Ha ha ha, not going to do this. But the more he just kept pounding on him, making fun of him, talking to him, that entire conversation, he's like, I'm done. Boom. Go home. Goodbye.
Yeah, on that, we were both, well, you told me, and I can agree with you. We all knew Robert De Niro's character was going to be the one to probably pass away as soon as sitting there. Yeah. He probably had it in his mind to kill himself on TV.
We're all waiting on it.
We're all waiting on it, but when the kills do happen, they are like, not jump scares, but they are eye-opening moments. Boom. You know they're about to happen, but when they happen, you open your eyes, like the guy getting stabbed with the scissors, Robert De Niro's, the guys on the subway.
Yes.
Todd Phillips made it so effective of when a kill happens, you feel it. And I also like that, we keep talking about this, but his little friend when he's trying to leave the apartment, and then he scares him. I felt for his victim. It's like, he was like, and like that, and then when he can't reach the handle. And
and everybody in the theater, there was a gasp.
Yes, there was a
oh, no.
That was great, and that's
suspense.
So, that's the stuff right there. I'm like, this is a great
I would have
movie.
liked for him to, and I hate to say it for his character, I would have liked for him to kill him in that moment.
He was so nice.
He was such a nice guy.
Him to die.
It was in the wrong place at the wrong time, for sure.
Yeah.
But man, you nailed it, because in an action movie, a gunshot happens. It's not a big deal. It
just happens.
Just kind of happens. This movie, you get a gunshot. It is a loud, obnoxious boom. I believe there was even kind of a
Echo?
A little bit of a a shake of a camera.
That might be the IMAX.
Kind of, that could be the IMAX. But even, I think they use so many audible and visual elements to just kind of make that impact stand out. And that's what I love in a movie like Taxi Driver. And not to bring it back to Scorsese, because I know everybody and their grandmother is going to do that, but that's why this feels like one of the Oscar-type movies of old, the character study of a person, and that may not be Joker to some people, but it is, and I've said this 40 times now, I'm going to say it again, it is kind of like you have the main comic book narrative, you have the storyline, you have an offshoot. You have different versions of the Joker, and I do believe this is a version that we've never necessarily seen before, but it is a version that is worth watching. Now, there are so many different elements and aspects of this movie.
What about, well, I know you're sorry not to cut you
off.
off.
I was just going to talk about his mother, but bring it up.
Okay, we'll get back to his mother. I guess we could talk about with his mother on this. How did you feel about all the uncomfortableness attached in this movie? Because when I say that, not in like, this movie's sending a bad message, I shouldn't be watching this, and no, in the literal moments of like that episode in The Office with Michael's Tots.
Scott's Tots!
Where he promised a bunch of kids college tuition and he has to go and tell them, just kidding. That kind of uncomfortableness, that embarrassing to watch of him doing his stand-up or him trying to be flirty with Zazie Beetz in the elevator, and he comes out and he goes, hey.
Yeah. And then when he's following her across, which we know, and I believe, now, she was not real, she was real. I believe that was when he was actually following her. And then from then on, it's just a projection of his mind. Very and you and I were both looking at each other during that entire scene. We're just like, ooh.
It's just uncomfortable.
Watching the kid at the playground?
That's the Joker, because if you go back to the Killing Joke, I mean, he shoots Barbara Gordon naked.
Yes.
And again, because he's absent of sexuality, and then the things he does to Gordon and ties him up in like that dominatrix thing and stuff, it's just uncomfortableness. It's and that's what I love about the Joker. It's the Joker.
It's the Joker, man.
So they did great on that.
And the laughter, we'll just go back to that for just a second. When the comedian was performing, during the moments within the jokes that you weren't supposed to laugh,
and he goes,
just a little bit of, and nobody else is laughing.
Yeah, I was waiting for someone to be like, "Hey, buddy, get out of here!" This and nothing like that happens. But it's that moment on the edge of your seat where you're just like, you don't want to look, you don't want to hear. Yeah.
And when he's uncontrollably, I mean, dude, I don't know how I can see a performance this year that tops what he did here. I don't think I can.
It'll be hard.
Just physically, what he did to shrink down. His movie that I can't remember the name of the movie that came out last year, where he was beefed, man. This was 1 year ago. Wow. You Were Never Really Here.
Yeah, there we go.
He was beefed. And now he's a little nugget. He's beef and now he's a nugget. So just the physicality of the role, and when he's standing his dancing, and we talked about his dancing, man.
They love to dance in this movie.
Dude,
so much slow-mo dancing.
Choreography, man, but he just made it so creepy, and when he's hanging out right there, and in the trailer, send in the clown, and he's about to walk into that talk show.
Stairs was the best. Our audience wanted to clap. One guy tried to start it, and everyone was like, just enjoy
Stop it, man. Stop it, but...
The thing with the mother, and I still say there's a debate to be had here on this.
For sure.
With the mother, you know, the movie tries to make it clear, so the mother's insane. And that the Joker's actually adopted.
Yeah.
And the whole time the mother's like, Thomas Wayne, we need to talk to him. He'll help us out. He'll give us better living and stuff like that. Because she says that Arthur Fleck is her son. Or his son of Thomas Wayne.
Yes.
There are some gripes with that. Because even I had theories about that being the case when I did my trailer breakdown. And people pointed this out to me. If that were the case, Joaquin Phoenix and Thomas Wayne... It's just way too close in age.
Yeah.
They're maybe 20 years, 10 years apart.
Maybe.
They
looked very close.
And the mother said that she worked for Thomas Wayne for 30 years. So if just say year one they hooked up and had that baby, that would put Arthur at 30 years. And the guy looked maybe 35, 30.
He did.
He looked a little old. That could just be of his malnourishment of why he looked so bad.
Yes.
But the reason I believe she was actually telling the truth. Because Thomas Wayne has the power to forge
erase
some. I mean, he's a powerful man. If that gets out, that's a scandal. That's bad on his family, his legacy. We know the Wayne legacy is already pretty tarnished with the comic books of like they were slave owners. That's how they kind of earned their money and stuff like that. And it's part of the reason Batman feels guilt because he's like, I kind of helped this city be bad. I have to save it.
Unfair wealth.
Yeah, exactly.
Well. Yeah.
So, if Thomas Wayne got this girl pregnant, didn't want it that, he would have the power to make fake birth certificates that it was an adoption.
For sure.
Because if she's adopted, how much is it a coincidence that you also adopt a kid with mental health issues? Wouldn't that be a genetic thing passed on with the mom?
True.
And then my other thing is when the Joker actually kills his mother.
Yeah.
She has a picture of her on the wall or on his mirror, and he looks at it and he flips it over, and it says, "I love your smile, TW." And I'm like, what if she was telling the truth and Arthur just killed his mom, unbelieving to her? Cause,
oh, man. Yeah.
I don't know.
Wow.
It's a lot to pack in there, and I'm sure there's better theories to be had, and I could be wrong, because you make the point. They don't plan to make a sequel to this. They don't plan to open the door. They don't plan to expand this universe. So what would be the point
of leaving something like that open-ended?
Open-ended, that they are siblings.
Yes.
You know, I think Batman fans would rather them not be siblings. But I mean,
but this isn't a Batman movie, man.
This is,
and that's one thing I'm kind of with you with is you know, they leave that aspect open ended. My argument to you was, and I'm not even completely on board with my argument, is one, maybe he has the mental health issues because of what she did to him, because they mentioned that, you know, he's messed up, and maybe the abuse to his actual head.
Not even that. Did they make it sound like her boyfriend was sexually abusive or physically abusive?
I was going physically abusive, but it may have been sexually abusive.
And that's even more uncomfortable.
Yes.
And again, that goes more towards sympathizing to have. But I mean, in real life, sexual abuse does lead to mental health issues for people who don't deal with it.
Absolutely.
But
absolutely, man. And those are cases for me that point out to maybe it was all of a lie. Maybe it was all a lie. Maybe Thomas Wayne just was maybe telling the truth, even though they did kind of point him out to be a villainous figure in that universe, because, you know, this revolt, this rage against him. That was
more the political stuff, because I don't know if you remember when the movie was being cast and stuff, they wanted Alec Baldwin supposedly for Donald Trump type. And then he came out and said, I wouldn't do a movie that requires me to be a Donald Trump type, because he already does that as a parody on SNL for a long time. So, and this guy didn't come off Donald Trump.
I don't think he did.
If there was any truth to that, there was going to be even more political messages. And I mean, this guy is a rich a-hole, because there were moments where he said he called the poor people clowns and stuff like that at Gotham. And
voting him in would make things right. And that was kind of the... And, you know, he's running for this, and this, you understand the revolution. And that's one thing. You have all of these jokers with the hats and the helmets and the masks on at the end coming in and leading this against this man who has control of everyone, right? And that's when you you start to buy the idea that, oh, well, maybe there needs to... But then you see the violence and the exploding cars at the end, and then lifting Joker up as their leader, symbolizing...
that specific scene, I loved it, because as that was happening, they were also creating the origin of Batman. And I told you, not only did they do an amazing job of that, with the way they killed the dad, and then they ripped the pearls and killed the mom. Super iconic stuff. I love how they did it. But when that final shot of the mother is done and Batman is officially born, we cut to the Joker breathing life.
Oh, man.
And that is so poetic. Your arch enemy is born and you are born.
It was phenomenal. And the filmmaking combined with the performances and even young Bruce, his facial expression. I'm like, oh my
couldn't believe
God, I buy that. And I can't believe we saw them die again for the 100th time. And I was like, this is going to get old. But the way they handle it, I thought was wonderful, man. And how about his interaction with young Bruce? And what we think was Alfred. Well, maybe I think was Alfred.
I said it was Alfred. When the guy was on screen, I was like, does he have an accent? I can't tell if he has an accent. It was kind of wishy-washy, but I'm just going to say that was Alfred.
I think it was Alfred,
I'm going to say one of the cops was, what's that guy's name? Bullock? I can't remember his name, but one of those cops that eventually becomes famous in the Batman world. I mean, I was fine with the interaction. The kid didn't do much. He
smile,
just smile. Like I just don't know. It showed to the side that the Joker would have wanted to be a good big brother.
Yeah.
And that could have been a whole different dynamic and stuff. Yeah. But I mean, it's fine. I think maybe less Bruce would have been fine, just showing him in the background and stuff. But I didn't mind that whole interaction. I did like where he was trying to cheer him up with the magic trick and all that stuff. It's good. It shows there was a good side to what he wanted to do. And even when he encountered Thomas Wayne, he's like, I don't want money. I don't want anything. I just want a little hug. Or how are you doing? Which, again, it's what he said. It's just you sympathize, and this guy just wants a hug, and he'll be fine.
The only moment I didn't like from that was when he called him Bruce, because everyone and their grandmother knew it was Bruce. Yeah. And then he goes, Bruce, and I'm like, exposition. I don't want that here. It's very obvious what's going on here. But I did like how it kind of added to the creep factor of the Joker, because that's one thing I needed a bit more. He's very creepy, but creepy interactions, because he was very subdued with the interactions with him and the police officers and Zazie Beetz' character, but with Bruce, he just like really showcases his clown in the children's hospital as well. When the gun falls out, man. When the gun... it's a toy gun. He wraps his jacket.
The way he picks it up and he goes...
Funny movie, man. Really funny moments.
That was funny moments.
Dark, very dark and intense film, but levity and humor added in there, I think, at the right moments. Great. I want to also hit on the talk show one more time. Okay. So the intensity building up and just kind of the anticipation, because this is really what the whole movie is building to. The entire movie is building to this moment because we keep going back and forth with he and Robert De Niro's character. How did you feel about that moment when he finally takes out Robert De Niro? And did you think there were going to be more casualties?
Yeah, because that's famous from the Dark Knight storyline.
I thought that's what was going to happen, was that storyline.
Something, but as the movie progresses, you realize, well, this guy doesn't make gas bombs. He doesn't make regular bombs.
And he had one gun.
And it goes to my thing that I mentioned in our tier list video. This Joker, as he stands right now, would not be able to face off against a Batman. Granted, Batman right now is, 10 years old? So he still has, 15 years to be the Bat. In those 15 years, he could become very strategic, very smart, learning the ups and downs of Gotham. And so he has time to become that Joker.
The Joker, yes.
The Joker that they leave us with by the end of the movie, he would not last 1 minute.
I agree with you.
He doesn't have the brain for it.
Physically.
He's not physically. He wouldn't be able to fight him either.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved when he was smashing the trash can outside after he was close to being fired. I like that. But getting back to that Robert De Niro scene, I was a little let down with the speech that
Between
Joaquin
the two?
was giving, where his reasoning and stuff, where he was like, Thomas Wayne don't care about you and me. You guys don't care about you and me. And again, it was just that pity party, where it's like, I'm not trying to pity you. I'm supposed to... And I keep running back to that, but that is just like my only biggest gripe with it. But once it's finally done and he just sits there like, what do we do next?
Oh, I love that. And when he it reminded me of Heath Ledger when he grabs the camera and he's like, "This is what," and then it cuts him off. That's a nice Heath Ledger callback, man.
Remember, that's life.
And then it just cuts. Yeah. And then it zooms out from the screens. Now I will say that this film it felt like it had a few endings, because when it zooms out from the screens, I'm like, oh, the movie's over. And then it shows his rise, I'm like, oh, the movie's over. Yeah. And then he's in the hospital, I'm like, oh, the movie's over.
Yeah, it did have multiple.
And then he kept running back and forth, and I'm like,
I love that.
But that was great.
That was great.
It's like every Lord of the Rings Return of the King ending they continued to give us, I was okay with it. It didn't bother me. because I want more of this character, and I know we're probably not going to get more, but I could have lived in... I don't want to live in this world. I'll die. But I want to live in this movie space for as long as we can possibly imagine. And then, of course, the end when he goes in and... He gets arrested. They end up catching him, and he's, I liked where he was the leader and the fire and everything, and then he's in the hospital. I'm like, oh, crap. But then he commits murder once again. And I'm like,
I love that.
That's the Joker.
I was telling you, I was hoping it was a blonde lady named Miss Quinn.
Oh, yeah, another Easter egg, dude.
I guess that's just too cartoony at that point, but I would have loved something like that.
I was surprised with how many Easter eggs we got.
There were a great amount of them.
Arkham, Bruce, Thomas Wayne, Alfred... A lot of things harkening back to the moments in the comics.
Giant rats.
Giant rats! That's got to mean something. Let me know in the comments. Giant rats. And if you're still watching, comment giant rats in all caps. Cris, is there anything else that we missed we didn't talk about that you want to hit on with this film?
No, man. Like I said, I really like this. I hope... Because I think this is going to become a cult classic. It's going to be revered.
Yes.
There will be Joker heads as long as we live. And
I'll buy
I can
one.
see this being the type of movie... where because we don't get a sequel, it'll be something almost every other year they talk about, we can do a sequel, and we'll get it in like 10 years. Mm-hmm. And then Joaquin will be the appropriate age for a Batman to come in, and we get to
Pattinson, Phoenix?
I don't know about that, because we still don't know what kind of Batman Pattinson is.
Give me all of it.
We'll see what Pattinson's Batman is, because it might not fit in with this Joker. But like I said,
I don't think it will.
If they do, I would love them to make movies where we see famous Batman stories through the perspective of Joker. Like I was telling you, I would love an Under the Red Hood with this Joker and his perspective. Or a Batman killing joke with his perspective where... we see this movie as Batman is the villain through the Joker's eyes.
Wow.
Like, that would be something that would be done before, and it would be refreshing. I would love to see it, but Joaquin isn't in that business. In the end, I'm happy we got this movie.
Me too.
I really enjoyed it, and it turned me around on these solo villain films. So the company that's going to give me all of them is Sony. So bring on Craven the Hunter. Learn from this and do Venom 2 better.
Little Morbius? Little
Morbius, I guess.
Okay, well, excited for that?
What about you, Austin?
I'm just so happy with this film. I want to discuss Oscar chances, though, really quick.
Okay.
What do you think it'll get nominated for, and do you think Joaquin's going to win?
Cinematography. I think it'll be nominated
100%. Has to be.
Has to be?
Yes.
From there, I really would like Joaquin to be nominated. The only reason I don't think so is, one, they want to avoid controversy, and that thing I brought up to you before about would they nominate someone who won for previously in the exact same role? Heath Ledger.
Joker.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That might make it difficult, but in the end, I think he will still get nominated.
Yeah, I do too. I'm with you. I want him to win because of the reason that you just said. Heath Ledger already won. I don't know if he's going to, but think about it. Heath Ledger got this amount of time in that movie. This is a whole Joaquin Phoenix film for him, allowing him to, but once again, supporting actor, leading actor, two different things. Regardless, I definitely think it will get nominated for cinematography. Maybe score? Maybe score, possibly. I don't think Best Picture. I would maybe nominate for Best Pick. I loved it, but I do think actor, for sure. For sure, actor. But I want to thank you so much for being in this video, man. A long, wonderful discussion. So many things to talk about. I am 1000% positive we missed something. So let us know if we missed something in this spoiler discussion, and be sure to hit that thumbs up once again if you enjoyed this video, and I will definitely do more of these, and who knows, we'll be far apart later on, Cris.
But we could still do some sort of
do a little Skype or something, but man, let the people know, where can they find you online?
You can find me at youtube.com/3cfilms, or you can follow me on Twitter at 3cfilmreview. Really enjoy what Austin does here. I thank him again for letting me be on his channel, and well, I'm sure we'll be doing more stuff. Don't forget our podcast, also Film Strippers. YouTube will have a link down below, because I don't think you want to Google that.
Yeah, don't type in Film Strippers. But you can find us, Film Strippers. We're on YouTube. We're getting our podcast feed going, and we've got, 4 shows so far, and we're continuing to work on these and crank these out. So thank you guys for your support. Thank you for your support on Patreon as well, and I'll see you guys soon.